Okay, it is day 551 off the grid, and I'm getting back in line with some solar stuff. Yes, chasing down the winter. Of course, the winter solstice has been and gone, so every day the sun comes back just that little bit stronger. But of course, we're entering in the part of the year where the weather is usually foul. Beautiful sunshine now, but it hasn't been like this all day. Though it hasn't rained, it's been about the best day we've had in a while. I'll probably still need to run the jetty tonight, but never mind, we've got some washing out and stuff. So I thought it's about time I get this blimmin' uni solar panel, you know, the amorphous panel, the one that I used in the great solar panel shootout, out of the generator shed and up on the friggin' roof. And that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap tooth up there. Can you see? I don't know. Anyway, there's a gap up there. And that's where I removed this 150 watt, is it 150 watts? 140 watts, near enough. Polycrystalline panel. Obviously a damaged one. I bought it damaged. I sprayed it with some spray and I've had it down and I've put some amp and volt tests on it and it's still working fine as I expected. So, you know, you can get a bit of life out of these broken glass panels. So if you get a chance to get one cheap, really cheap though, because it will take a bit of your time in dealing with it, do so. But the idea is this one comes down and that one goes up in its place. And the reason is, of course, this one's only 60 watts and occupies a very similar area, but being an amorphous panel, it'll provide pretty close to the output of that on a cloudy day, and the position of installing it in is kind of flat to the sky, the summer position, which is the best position for any solar panel in any season on a cloudy day. So by swapping these two panels over, I'll get much the same cloudy day output as I did before from that use of the roof. In fact, I may get more. This may give me more all day. I'm not sure about that, but I'll get pretty much at least as much. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. And then it frees this panel up to be mounted in a more desirable position for winter operation. Something like these ones down here, these ground mount ones. So when the sun is directly shining on this in the winter, I'll get a hell of a lot more, so thus increasing the power fed into the system quite significantly. In other words, I'm making better use of this panel by doing this swapperoo. That's basically the idea behind it, and making good use of this panel and getting it out of the shed, getting it up, doing something. So the day is fast coming to an end. Look, the sun's totally westering now. Should really point the camera at the sun, but you get the idea. And I want to get this done before nightfall. As you can see, this panel here is a fair bit narrower than this one here. So when I go up on the roof, that will necessitate moving all the panels to the left of the slot over a little bit further to the left, which I can do. And on the face of it, that might seem like a major pain in the ass, but it's actually really easy to do with this mounting system, just using these Tech screws into these, well, we call them 4x2s over here, you might call them 2x4s. So it's quite a versatile mounting system, and it'll be easy for me to just shovel them over a wee bit. So that's that. Okay, and the final thing that I've got to deal with is the wiring of this new panel. It's got the craziest wiring here. There's obviously some bonded earths. These negative wires loop, and then these positive wires go through this crazy diode arrangement. It's not a blocking diode or a bypass diode. It's like an isolation diode from this side to that side. I don't know. That's all going away. I've got two options. I can either just rewire this and install some MC4s on here because it's an MC4 up on the roof, or I can prepare some new MC4 cables and replace these ones, and I think I'll take the latter option because that way I can just prepare the cables in the workshop using my snazzy new soldering iron and bring it out here and just fit it on. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. And here's the completed wiring. Much simpler, much improved. We've got our negative and our positive. Of course, these are the MC4 standard, which all plug into the ones on the roof. This particular cable I already had. I'd taken off another panel. It was already made up. This one, I had the plug and I soldered this piece of cable on, which is not a true PV cable. It's actually just a piece of really heavy switchboard or conduit wire. But, you know, it'll do the trick. Who's going to know? Well, everyone knows now, obviously, but hey, it's only a 12-volt system. So I use my new soldering iron to solder this on. I like to solder these rather than crimp them. It was only just adequate. I had to crank up the temperature really high. I went up to, I think, 450 degrees in the end. Because the thing is that you can set a tip to be a certain temperature, but how much heat does that tip actually hold? Well, it's a soldering iron designed for fine electronics work, not for soldering heavy cables. This was asking a bit too much, I think. But cranking it up to that temperature, it did the job. So it's nice to know that I can do it when I want to. But if I was going to do a slew of these, I'd probably just use the 80-watt iron. I mean, this cable here, I believe, is 8mm cable inside there. I don't know if that's any particular standard. I thought that you go from 6mm up to 10mm in the usual electrical wirings, but this stuff looks a bit thicker than 6, so I'm going to say it's 8. But it's totally overkill for this. It's just that it's got a similar jacket size to the actual PV wire, and all I had to do was bulk them up a wee bit with a bit of lecky tape, and then these glands, which are made for bigger cables, screwed down nicely. That's all solid, that's all watertight, and I'll just put the cover on, go and start the Jenny now because it's 4 o'clock, and I said I'd start it at 4. I didn't say that to you, but I did say it to myself. It's 4 o'clock, it's time to start the Jenny, and as soon as I do that, I'll whip this cover on, give these a test with the meter. There's not much sun left, but at least I can test if it's actually working, and then I'll go and hove it up on the roof. Oh, here's a shot of me getting on with it. Here's the new panel. Here's the existing one that's been moved along and tightened down. Just got these two, which are a set that are mounted together by their frames, and this last one, the broken 195-watt panel to bolt down, and then I am done for today. Of course, packing up. Sun looking like it's going to beat me. It's already down now. But I can always finish off the last few with my head torch. But I brought the camera out now specifically to actually show you something that I won't be able to show you once I put one more bolt in. Let's see if we can do it. There we go. Remember the video I made about wearing the Dolmio grin with solar? Well, there it is. It's still there. And it's still Dolmio grinning. Oh yes it is. Look at that. When I didn't have anything better to make a connection, I just grabbed a pasta sauce jar. I don't know if it's strictly Dolmio, but you know, pasta sauce, whatever. Bung the cables in, used some terminal blocks inside, and just sealed it up with silicone, and it's as good as. In fact, there's one underneath this panel too, just making a more simple single connection, but this one's actually connecting together two panels, as you can see by the orange and the grey cables. But we better carry on because the sun is going down. I had better carry on with the Ramsay Bolton.